Now, I've moved 2 times during this crazy pandemic from India to the US, from the US to now Ecuador, and I'm here to share what those experiences were really like.
Hi, my name is Jasmine. My husband Gozier and I are expats who have lived in India, Morocco, and now Ecuador. I love traveling, and when I can, I love trying new foods too. And today we're discussing packing, traveling, unpacking multiple times, all while living through a pandemic and moving abroad.
During the pandemic, especially the early parts, there were certain things that were extremely heightened and safety measures were really put into place so that things were done according to safety measures and plans and standards. And then later on in the pandemic, things weren't going as planned and we definitely noticed some hiccups. So let's just jump right into our very first move, and that was from India to the United States. Our time moving from India to the US was actually very, very nice. It was kind of a breeze because the moving company that shipped us out was very professional, efficient, and they were safe. They did bring quite a few guys with them to do the whole entire moving process, but we did not mind at all. Even though our house felt crowded with people, it really wasn't crowded because everybody had their own little zones and they were just working super fast and efficiently. And what was crazy is that we absolutely love movers overseas because they take such good care of your items, even to the point of individually wrapping items that don't necessarily need to be individually wrapped, but I don't mind the extra precaution that is taken. And so with that being said, these guys were so amazing. They were good. They stayed on schedule. They came on time. They took their lunch break. When we pack out, that's what we call it within our lifestyle, we do in fact give tips, especially if the movers are good. I mean, we give tips regardless, but these guys definitely deserved a hefty tip because they were phenomenal, got everything done in one day, and we were very happy with that. So our pack up process was very, very good. We commend all the people that worked on this process to get us out of the country safely and efficiently. And of course, thank you to the movers that helped as well. So the traveling aspect was very interesting because it was our very first time actually traveling since everything went down. I think our last trip before actually moving out of India was to the Maldives, and that was like right at the cusp of everything happening and shutting down. So traveling to then move home was its own experience, and it was very different because it was just different. Rules were put into place, masks mandates and like face shield mandates were put into place. I would say going from India to, I think it was London, that was where our transfer was, it was very strict. It was extremely strict. We had to keep on our masks and our face shields the whole entire time unless we were eating, and then in between bites we had to like put things back on. It was extremely strict, but I didn't mind it. I felt very safe. The airport in India was sort of crowded, but the airplanes from India to London, London to I think Dallas, wherever that transfer was, pretty empty. My husband and I, we could have had our own rows if we wanted to, which, you know, it would have been nice to just kind of relax and sleep, but we were good. We wanted to stay next to each other, but that's how empty these gigantic planes were at the time. And I take it it's because it was an international flight, because from our transfer point in the US to, where did we end up? I don't even remember. It seems like it was so long ago, but from our transfer point going to our final destination, I think it was Washington, D.C., if I'm not mistaken, that plane was crowded, and you just kind of saw the difference between how other countries were kind of handling the pandemic and then how the US was doing its thing and kind of filling up planes, getting people to where they needed to go, whether or not the plane was full or empty. And I can't neglect to mention what happened to our personal effects when they arrived from India to the United States. And we did 2 shipments, which if you're interested, I'll talk about in a future video how all of this shipment stuff works. But we got our stuff in a really good amount of time. It didn't seem like it took months. I think it took like a month and a half to 2 months to get everything. And once our stuff arrived in the States, the moving company that was coordinated with the folks in India to the folks in the United States, they efficiently emptied everything out. I like to have the movers just like open all the boxes, put all the stuff wherever so that I can just quickly put the stuff away. But that way I don't have like boxes and I don't get lazy with just having, you know, stuff around. I just like to get it all done. I wear masks. And it really only took like 30 minutes, if that, for them to empty everything out and then to take the boxes and the extra paper and leave. So that was really good. And I forgot to mention one of the other reasons why our pack out from India to the US was really efficient is because I have a system. And again, I'll mention this in a future video if you'd like. I organize everything into categories based off of where they're going to be shipped from, how they're going to be shipped, and then if it's like kitchen, bathroom, room, office stuff, I really like to coordinate and use sticky notes, and it's a whole process. It works for me, and it really helps movers move really efficiently because they're not coming into my house and having to look through cabinets and take things out and organize it themselves. Everything's already done. So I highly recommend that you organize your personal effects when you're moving, pandemic or not. Let's talk about our move from the US to Ecuador, which is where I currently am now. Y'all, kind of a hot mess. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I had just found out that I was pregnant, so all of that extra prep I mentioned that I like to do to keep myself organized and keep the movers organized, it didn't happen. I tried my best, but I was so sick. It was the early stages of pregnancy, and my husband was also working. It was just, there was no time. It felt like the moving process was coming quicker than we had prepared, even though we knew we were moving. And there were a lot of moving pieces that did not allow for us to make this move as efficient as previous moves had been in the past. And I know I keep jumping back and forth, but with India, we didn't have to worry about expired visas or passports or anything like that. We had everything that we needed documentation wise, and that was not the case. Going from the United States to Ecuador, we did not have passports. Our passports had expired, and if it wasn't for my husband, who luckily looked at the passports, I don't know, like a month before we were slated to actually fly out, we would have been out of luck. And then the visa situation, if you've seen previous videos of mine, you know that also took quite a bit of time as well. So overall, we just did not feel very prepared. We felt like we were chickens with our heads cut off, and I felt like a pregnant chicken with my head cut off who was trying to navigate this new experience in my life while also preparing to move. So it was a lot of work. And because of my lack of preparation, you know, I couldn't help it. The moving company wasn't as efficient, safe, or prepared. If I like a moving company, I'll more than likely put it in the comment section below of whatever video I post that's like, we're moving. So you can check out previous videos. I'll link them either below or in the cards. But this particular moving company did not link because I don't recommend them. I appreciated them, however, for coming to our house during a pandemic. That is something to be said for people nowadays doing their jobs, especially folks that don't get time off or that are essential workers. Yes, I understand that. So I gave them a pass on that aspect, but everything else was a little iffy. I mean, everybody was nice, but not as compliant when it came to wearing a mask and, you know, just not breaking items and just overall respectfulness in a way. Yeah, that's all I'll say. You know, I'm not one to throw anybody or any company under the bus. I'll just say that my experience with this particular moving company was less than stellar. You know, mask wearing, especially when you're in somebody else's home and you're a service worker, I think at least at that time, I don't know what the US is like right now, but at that time I felt like it was necessary. And we did ask, but it was kind of like flippantly responded to as, if I have to, I guess I'll put on the mask, but you know, it's hot. one of those things. So it was just like, I'm just tired. I just want you to do your job. And we're just grateful that you came. So yes, we did tip. I still tip people for doing their jobs, regardless of if it's like 100% or if I feel like it was like 75, 80%. I still think that people deserve to, receive tips and receive thank yous for doing their job, even if it is at the baseline. Thank you. Thank you for doing your job. So inefficient packing definitely shows up inefficiently when you arrive to your country or to your destination and you unpack the thing. So I would say that the folks that unpacked us here in Ecuador were amazing, professional, hilarious, because my Spanish was not that great when they came to drop everything off and I was trying to communicate, where things go and put things here, and it was awful. Honestly, it was awful, but they were great. They were efficient, wore their masks and all the good stuff. Although the movers who unpacked our things here in Ecuador did a fantastic job, we're missing some things, and I think it goes back to being disorganized on my part, but also the way that things were packed from the United States. Things were not individually packaged. Things were not as cared for. There's this little thing that I have my my monitor on right now that was literally, it's like one of those rolling carts. So instead of taking the rolling cart apart, which I guess I could have done, but the movers should have done, instead of taking it apart, they just put the whole thing in a box with like lotions that were not sealed and bags and just like mixing things together. So yes, I am missing some shoes and some other items, and my husband and I joke, even though it's not funny, that we're probably like missing a whole box of things, and I don't know. Chalk it up to being disorganized or the pandemic, or maybe the stuff is in the house and we just have yet to find it. I have no idea where this stuff is, but if I think about it long enough, I won't be joking. I'll be really upset. So I just have to, take things with a grain of salt. We know people have tried their best, and stuff is stuff. So I guess my husband and I, we don't take too much stock in stuff. Things can be replaced. At least we're here safely, and we made it through all of this without getting sick. Knock on wood. So that's a plus, and I'm really appreciative of that. And let's just quickly talk about traveling. I know I'm a little all over the place in this video, but traveling to come from the US to Ecuador was really interesting. I would say the US has been a lot more relaxed when it's come to its COVID restrictions. And when we were traveling from DC, I think, to Atlanta, people were a lot more free. Masks were worn, but yeah, people were free. And from Atlanta to Quito, automatically, things were different. People were still wearing their masks, but we get to the airport and we're being asked for our vaccine cards, which were not a requirement in the States. But this is why it's important to always do your research to figure out what other countries are requiring when it comes to vaccines and vaccination cards and different documentations and things like that. Especially with the new changing climate, things are different. So you may or may not need those things, and things change daily. I just highly recommend that you look things up before you travel. There were quite a few more regulations, but I don't mind rules and regulations. I feel like they keep me safe, and that's super important, especially during this time in our lives. Overall, I would say yes, moving during a pandemic is in fact challenging, but it is doable. And I'm gonna say this, we do have the additional benefit of working and moving with the State Department, so it does help us out quite a bit to alleviate some of the additional headaches that expats might have, foreigners might have as they move to a new country. But I believe as long as you have a plan, you have that vision, and you are excited, that you can make a move abroad work, pandemic or not. And of course, if you need help with that practical vision, definitely check out some more of my videos. I have a whole playlist on moving abroad, what that is like and what my experiences have been. And of course, if you want to know how you can work with me and if you qualify for an expat life consultation, definitely check out the link down below. And yeah, I am gonna go and just figure out my life. I might look for those shoes that I'm missing. I literally found out that I was missing them yesterday because I was like, let me get dressed up. Let me get cute. Oh wait, I can't find my shoes. So that is what I'm gonna go do like now. Okay.